Good morning, everybody. Wednesday. Welcome to the live stream. To get rolling in here, make sure if you're watching live, say hello. It's always good to see the coffee crew as they roll in. As again, don't forget hit the like button, helps out the channel. Like to say that a couple times during the stream. All good. But if you are watching on the replay, we go live Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock a.m. to about 8:45. Good conversation. TFSAs, investing, what the heck is happening with the market, and wherever our conversation takes us. So hopefully everybody is having an okay day so far. Kind of ugly out there, that is for sure. If you've been looking at what the heck is happening, but lots going on in the world right now, especially with finances and banks and all that kind of ugly stuff. So that's where we're at today. Let me know how your day is going. We'll see who's rolling in here for the morning. And first as always, first is Candice. Welcome, Candice, channel member. Always good to have you here. Good morning. You didn't beat Paul today. I double checked that no comment came in, and I think yesterday I had it set to top chat or something like that maybe, so didn't see Paul jump in first. But Paul, if you're here, good morning as well, Candice. And hopefully your day is going okay, Candice. I don't know. Might not be a great day to day trade, but hopefully, if you are able to, you've got maybe see some opportunities. I think I did see this morning though in the news that, and I think you own this in your portfolio, Candice, is CP Rail. They got approved for the purchase. What was it, Kansas City Railway, I believe. So CP Rail is doing okay today. That's the one thing with the trains and transportation. And we will get to your chat GPT, always a tongue twister, chat a GPT joke in a second here. So who else is here? Good morning. Zach is here. Good morning. Good to see you, Zach. Hopefully maybe took some opportunity today to maybe get into some more XEQT. Might be a day to grab some to add to your fat stack of XEQT. Yeah, Paul not here today. That's okay. Maybe he'll tune in later, obviously, maybe working. If you're working, that's a good thing. That's what it was. Kansas City Southern was purchased or going to be purchased by CP Rail. Yeah, let's get this. That's I don't want to pull up my comment. Hold on here. There we go. Chat GPT. Why did the farmer invest in stocks? To raise his crop of dividends. Well, that's not a bad one. Today. Now, in ChatGPT, I haven't played around with it much in the last little bit, in the last couple of days. But I think ChatGPT 4 is out, and it's supposed to be quite more advanced as opposed to the prior version. I have to jump onto ChatGPT to see if it's what the changes are, unless it's maybe just for people because I know there's a paid version. Maybe it's just coming out for the paid version right now. That I don't know. If anybody does know that, let me know in the comments. It's always interesting with the ChatGPT. I've been using it a little bit for my YouTube. Haven't kind of transferred it into any kind of work yet, but might kind of help me out with some emails maybe sometimes too, that kind of thing. But it's been handy for YouTube. Helps out with titles and descriptions and kind of saves me some time. You have to rewrite it a little bit, but it does a pretty good job. So yeah, the 70s keep the groove going. Gets me going in the morning. It's starting up. I wonder if we maybe change it. I don't know. Let me know if anybody thinks new music, maybe new intro music, something else, something different. I don't know. We'll have to maybe take a vote to it. It kind of gets me going in the morning. A little bit of groove. MC, good morning. Always good to have you here. MC, you had mentioned there was that Frontline documentary that was coming out, and I looked yesterday, and I guess it's blocked. From what I understand, looks like it's blocked right now in Canada. I watched I remembered that I put a note down that it was going to be released yesterday, and then on the Frontline there was the trailer, and on the trailer, you know how if you're watching a YouTube video, at the end it'll pop up like the next video to watch kind of thing, and there was the documentary. So I'm like, oh great, perfect, documentary is now out. Clicked it, not available. So I think it's blocked in Canada right now. I'll have to figure that out. I don't have a VPN, so I don't know. I have to search around to try and watch that. So I don't know if you've had any luck where you are, but I didn't have any luck. But that looks like an interesting documentary. I was all set for a two hour documentary last night, but didn't happen. And with this purchase, okay, this makes CP Rail the only railroad to have access to Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. Interesting. Interesting. And I'm pretty sure you have that in your portfolio, if I remember correctly. Unless I know you have CN. I know you have CN. That's good. Bought 20, bought 20. Okay, deploying extra money. I think, and that's yeah. Sometimes you wish you had more money to be able to do it. I mean, for me, I'm kind of budget. My budget is what I've budgeted for my weekly purchases, that kind of thing. And unfortunately, I mean, it is always the case. But I think the big thing is, if that was your plan to deploy cash and you see an opportunity, then take it. But again, I'm for everybody. I think don't divert from your plan. Your plan just in case. And I think this kind of leads us to our next comment, MC. Yeah, if you're tempted, it's kind of maybe sometimes better to take a bit of a pause. The market does seem to be holding up kind of suspiciously well with Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse is down. I think it's down over 20% today. It was down. I was on Twitter early this morning to kind of catch the news. It's kind of coming out, and I think pre-market it was down like almost 30%. Excuse me. Something's going to break there. I think eventually, if something's not done. I mean, we talked yesterday, right? SVB Bank, all the issues with the states. So there's issues everywhere, and we'll have to see what pans out over there. And I think the UK, are they not? I believe the UK is having their interest rate announcement. I think it's supposed to be tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. And I know the state's coming up next week, right on the 22nd. We'll have to really see what's going to happen. Excuse me. And good morning, Vic. How are you? Good. CP on sale. I think it was on sale yesterday. If you've had it for a while, with anticipation of this purchase. We'll have to see. With CP. It was doing quite well today, Vic. With the buyout of Kansas. What is it? Kansas City Southern. Oil is down. That is true. The states does have to start filling up the reserves, so it might be smart to do it. It's definitely might be the time. It's definitely hard to say what the heck is. It's such a weird, crazy time out there. That is for sure. Gas is still high though too. It's true. I filled up. I had to go because I was on that. I had a bunch of driving to do on Monday, and I had to fill up the car, and it was I think it was $1.79, it's been kind of at that for a while, but it definitely hasn't like dropped substantially. And hindsight, I guess, Vic, is 2020, right? Had it at 82 and sold. Well, if you sold and made some money, there's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with that, taking some money off the table. That is for sure. CPCN there's probably one of those companies. Yeah, the railway. Yeah, with all the logistics and transportation. Yeah, probably is. I was actually looking at CN Rail a couple weeks ago, but never kind of decided to add anything to it. But hey, that's it. But that probably is a good steady hold for sure. Drone deliveries. I think we're way off. I think we're a ways off from drone, like large. I mean, could be completely wrong, but large scale drone deliveries. I don't necessarily see we're there, especially maybe in populated areas. I think we'll see going towards more EV deliveries at the first before we see kind of drones. I know Amazon. I think Amazon was kind of experimenting with them. Maybe for some more remote areas that might make more sense where the roads aren't the stuff's not as accessible, especially, I mean, Canada, different times a year, that kind of thing, might be working, but I don't see anytime soon getting all our Amazon packages. Maybe not in my lifetime, maybe eventually, but it's maybe down the road. What I've actually noticed with deliveries and stuff is Amazon is doing a lot of those. They have depots now where you can pick up your deliveries from Amazon, and I've actually got one. There's actually one close by here, and I've kind of thought, no, it's not a bad idea. I mean, I'm usually home because I live in an apartment, and I work from home, so I'm always kind of here, so I haven't ever used it, but might be kind of a good idea if if you have to order something, you're maybe going away, or if you're at work, that might kind of make sense. So it probably helps them out too, because they can move everything to one hub, and people will come and pick it up at their leisure instead of driving each place. So save them money, I guess. But and ECB, yeah, ECB is tomorrow, I believe. I think it's tomorrow. As far as I understand, I got to adjust my camera here. There we go. Is tomorrow, and Vic says, yeah. I'll have to see if I'll Google that later. But who knows what they're gonna do? Interesting times. There's never. That's the thing, Vic. There's never enough dry powder, right? If you call it that, yeah. You always wish you kind of had more waited to buy. That's the whole thing, and that's why that's why for me it works to just do my consistent purchases and not have to necessarily stress as much about getting if there's no huge capital to put out anyways. So that's sticking with my budget for the most part. And so 5%. Okay, yeah, that's a good chunk. Good chunk for CNR. Yeah, there is a few. There's that one in Canada. I think that was popular back in 2020 as well. There's like a drone delivery Canada, I think it is called. And yeah, there's a few. They're definitely more VC, definitely speculative, definitely really speculative stocks. But maybe with the technology they're building and the drones, the delivery stuff they're building, is maybe get bought out by somebody. That's the whole. I think the goal a lot of times. But interesting. I think some of the delivery companies MC are doing, like they'll use it for like medical supplies, that kind of stuff, for more remote areas that maybe just don't have the infrastructure for for an airport or something like that, or for roads. I could see in wintertime especially, or that kind of thing. Kind of interesting though. Very niche at this point. I don't think you're going to get I can't see myself getting my coffee dropped off by drone. Although that would be something nice if you could get it kind of quick, and because you need coffee and they lower it down to your patio. But yeah. Vic, I am not sure. That's a great question for everybody on the channel. If there is one, if anybody knows of a railroad ETF specifically, there might be. If anybody knows in particular, let me know, and we'll add it to the ETF list for the Coffee Crew. That'd be kind of an interesting one to maybe watch. I think there's a logistics one from. I can't think of it right now, but there must be. I'll leave that one up for the Coffee Crew. Maybe see if they know if there's a railway or railroad ETF. Yeah, that's exactly it. So GTA has some too. I mean, I'm in a small little. I mean, it's a city. Town, but it has one at the gas station too. There's a locker. It's literally 2 minutes from where I live, and it's like it looks like it's like a bank of lockers. It looks like you're in a it looks like you're in a change room kind of thing. Not really. It's outside, but it's got those looks like an airport lockers, that kind of stuff, and they have different sizes that you can punch in. I guess punch in your code, and it seems pretty handy. I will probably actually try it, not for the sake of convenience, because I'm at home. Although sometimes Amazon, like for whatever reason, they say they're out for delivery here, and then for whatever reason it doesn't get delivered, or they're knocking on the door sometimes at like 9 at night kind of thing. So sometimes I guess the locker might be kind of good, because if you're trying to go to bed, or you don't want someone banging on your door to try and get in sometimes. But they actually sent me, I don't know, check if you have Amazon. I have Amazon Prime. Maybe it was one of the Prime people. They actually sent me a coupon. If I try the pickup thing, you get it was like $7 off your next order, and I'll keep it and I'll use it for my next order just to try it. And along the way, if I can save $7 to drive down the street for 2 minutes, I'll do it and grab it when I'm out. But I've never used it yet. MC, have you used the locker thing yet? I don't know. Yeah. And yeah, Monopoly as a kid, yeah, you'd always try and get the railways because you'd make good money. You get the railways, and then you'd always have to buy. You'd always try and get that one after the, what's the one right after Go, or past Go, because then everybody would always have money, and then you land on past Go, and then you'd have to pay up. Good morning, Ian. Good to have you here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining. If you haven't liked the stream yet, as we say, as people are rolling in, hit the like button. Always good to helps out the channel. And a couple there for Vic. Medical, yeah, I think medical will do well in the next little while. Biotech, medical, technology probably will do well. Obviously not. We can't look at today, this past little bit, but eventually. Yeah, that sounds about right. There are lots of rural areas that don't have the same for like Canada Post and stuff like that. Yeah, someone mailed you something within the same province and it took about 5 business days. Sounds about right. I've even had like I have that it's Canada Post partly too because I've had stuff get mailed, and I have a like for I have stuff like I had stuff coming from my taxes, and I get a copy mailed to my accountant as well. Like it goes to both, and they got one. They sent me a letter saying, "Oh, we got this letter today, so we'll start working on it," and or got this and I'm like, I haven't got that yet. I literally got it like 4 days later, and it must have got mailed at exactly the same time. So this goes to show Canada Post can be very, very slow waiting for mail. And mail is always bills and stuff too. So if you have a friend that sends you a letter, that's maybe better. I have a friend that lives down in the States, and she's retired, and she makes her own cards and stuff like that. And so she sends out cards for Christmas and just all the holidays, Thanksgiving and birthdays and that kind of stuff, and sends it out. But it's always funny because I always laugh at her because I'll say, "Oh, thanks, I got your Christmas card," and it'll be like it'll be here in like January 5th, in middle of January, I think I got it, and she sent it well before Christmas, so it just takes forever. It takes forever. It takes forever. Oh, there we go, Candace. There, that's for Vic. Almost had a job there. That's a long interview process, 3 interviews. Thankfully, I haven't had to interview for a job for a long time. Knock on knock on wood. But I remember going through something like that too. You'd go for the first one, and then you'd go for the next one. Then you'd have to go back and you'd do like some kind of mental, not a mental test, but they'd always do these kind of weird tests on you to find out what kind of personality you had and that kind of stuff, for different things. GVA over the summer, there were tons of ammo, and so it seems like they have their own fleet. GVA, not in the Greater Toronto area. There's lots of rental van delivering packages. Out here where I am, it's always, for the most part, Amazon. Actually, Amazon vans that come. The odd time will be a third-party courier, but that seems to be more kind of around like the holiday. December-ish time, there was couriers delivering stuff when I order my coffee or whatever. But lately now it's all been the Amazon van. They usually come pretty consistently, actually, which is good. You always kind of see it. And the only thing it has, like where I am, it's never really same day delivery. It always kind of takes 2 days. Just, I think that's location. Whereas when I lived on the mainland, in the lower mainland, you could get stuff sometimes same day, or it was next day. Like a lot of times you could order the same day. When I used to work in the office, I'd show up in the morning, and if I needed to get something, I would get it. I could get it shipped. I could show up in the office, order it, get it shipped to the office, and then I'd have it by the time I was going home. So pretty handy. Pretty handy. Oh, they have a locker in the lobby. Interesting. Yeah. So you have someone that takes packages. Yeah. I mean, where I am, it's in the mail room too, but they usually come in and then they'll deliver it to the doorway. Um, when I lived in, it's funny, when I lived in Calgary, the tower I lived in was kind of, there was two, so they essentially looked they were the same rental towers owned by the same company, and they look exactly the same, but so sometimes it would always get mixed up, and the Amazon would drop off our, like, my package over in the other tower, and like vice versa. So every time Amazon came, you'd always see like this pile of, and this is over 2020 as well, so everybody was ordering stuff, and you see this big pile of stuff into the in the mailroom every time the Amazon delivery came. And then as it slowed down, they started to deliver it for doors, and I got they send you the picture after they deliver it, right? And I got this picture, and it's like, delivered it outside your door. And I look at the picture, I'm like, that's not. It's like, it's the same building, but it's got different colors in the doors and stuff. And it was like, that's not my front door. And it was like literally the other unit in the other building, uh, but it worked out in my favor because the package kind of got missing because the person probably grabbed it out of their door and then realized it wasn't theirs. So I got it refunded. Or sorry, no, they sent me a new one, so to replace it. And then 3 or 4 days later, I got this other package from the one next door because I guess they realized it wasn't theirs, and so I got double the thing. And I told Amazon that I got whatever, just keep it, unless you want to send it back, just keep it. So they're always pretty good with their returns. That's what I find with Amazon. They've always been really good with their returns or missed packages and stuff, getting refunds. It's never too hard to get that sorted out. Vic, question. Okay, question. Explain 30. So I think you're assuming 30-year amortization mortgage versus Canada, were we, with 5-year fixed as favorites? I think that's what you mean. So we have 30-year, because we do have 30-year amortizations in Canada, right? But the terms Canadians typically do are 5-year terms. That has to do with funding the bonds. Biggest thing as well, though, is the terms. Part of it is in Canada. If a term is over 5 years, so in Canada there's like you can get a 7-year mortgage, a 10-year mortgage. 10-year term is kind of the longest term you can get in Canada. The thing is, in Canada, with the way the interest rules work, is if it's over 5 years for a mortgage, if you have a longer term, so you have a 10-year mortgage, if you break your term after 5 years and 1 day, the interest you pay is only a 3-month interest penalty. Whereas if it's a fixed rate, like a 5-year term, and you pay it out early, and there's any kind of differential with the interest rates, you probably see in the news, right, how much huge penalties are to break it. So if it's less than that, if it's less than 5 years, you can be possibly paying the interest rate differential. That's the biggest reason, one of the reasons, and then it has all to do with the bonds. We just don't have the same. This is not how it works here. So that's how it's kind of worked. But from my understanding, one of the biggest ones is from the interest rates, different, like that rule to break them. And everybody just typically most people take 5-year terms, and then they just kind of keep renewing. Amortizations would be the same, 30 years, but they would take a 5-year terms. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question. For Monopoly, always after the yellow, red, and orange properties, it statistically landed on more. Oh, okay. You have to see. Yeah. Railways. The railways always would do good if you could get all four. I haven't played Monopoly in so long. Yeah, that is true. I saw those as well. There's someone here I see still gets the good food. HelloFresh. It's one of the ones. It's the box outside. I see dropped off their patio, but probably not as much of a fad. Yeah, interesting. I think it was popular at the time. But yeah, it realized people paying money to cook your own food was kind of silly. But I mean, I looked into it. I never did it. I used to be a chef, so it didn't. I didn't really but it's maybe a good way for people, I think, at the beginning to kind of learn to cook a little bit, learn some different recipes. The one thing I could see a benefit of it is you always kind of are always cooking this, like, as much as you're always going to want to try new things. A lot of times you kind of gravitate towards cooking the same things all the time. So I could see how those, if you got those, once a week or something, it kind of forces you to try different things and maybe spice things up a little bit with trying something different. But yeah, there was always obviously a premium with them to get those delivered. But I used to work with someone that used to get them all the time, but he worked a lot. His wife worked a lot, so they just weren't home a ton. And they found it handy because they would come home and they'd have something to cook without having to plan that kind of thing as much. So. And yeah, Americans they lock in for the term. It's just the way how it works. And that's basically kind of how it is in Canadian. Yeah, and it's more beneficial for the banks, for penalties, blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of yeah. Imagine the fees collected on mortgages on people moving because they don't feel as locked in as a low rate, etc. Yeah, there's a lot of what's really interesting, MC. There's a lot of people that go. I mean, there's a lot of people in Canada that go variable rate. There's a lot of people that go fixed rate, and variable rate over the last few years has been really popular because it was less. People gravitate towards the lowest payment, right? And there's lots of people that what happened, and it's going to happen again, because everybody that's in a variable rate right now obviously feeling it, right? Because obviously if your payment is, if you're at a financial institution where your payment changes with the prime rate, your rate has gone up, your payment has gone up substantially, because the prime rate is so high now. And anybody that's sitting in a 5-year fix that they took kind of at the same time is laughing. There's nothing to worry about. But what happens is people that are in a variable, they decide to lock in, and now if they're locking in, right now, I mean, bond yields are coming down. Rates should be it's maybe, right, probably are going to be dropping. But what happens is then people that are in a variable that have locked in, they go, oh, now of course if we start to see prime rate dropping, they want to hop over the fence and go, I'll pay a penalty and transfer over to the back. People actually kind of transfer back and forth, which is silly because it just ends up costing you with cost all the time to break these mortgages. But banks don't lose on the penalties, that's for sure. I mean, some of the penalties on fixed rate mortgages are substantial. Penalties on variable rates right now are quite substantial, because don't forget, prime rate is 6.7%. So if you're paying a 3-month interest penalty on that, it still can be substantial, whereas before it was, didn't make as much sense. I've actually had clients that when the prime, back in 2020 2021, when prime rate was really dropping, they were in fixed rates of, say, 3% or whatever, right? They wanted to break their mortgage to go into a variable rate, as opposed to sticking out their fixed rate for the next 3 years. Thankfully, tell people don't, because you have a decent rate already. And as of today, if they hadn't broken it, they're in better shape. It's really hard. There's just so many changes can kind of happen, and it's a tough decision, I think, for people picking fixed versus variable. It's definitely, there's pros and cons to each, that's for sure. Yes, that's what happened, because some of the banks, like TD Bank, doesn't change their TD Bank has a fixed payment variable, and the amortization has gone up quite substantially. So you're not paying any principal down. Your payment is going to all interest, or not even covering all the interest. I've seen I've seen someone's that's been over, yeah, almost, I think it was closer to like almost 100, like literally almost 100 years amortization. Yeah. They actually did a lump sum payment to bring their balance down. And their amortization, I think, was still 57, like 60 years or something like that. Like it's insanity. That's pretty scary stuff, because the thing is, once you come up for renewal, your renewal has to carry on that original amortization schedule. So it's going to be a shock for payments for people in a variable. They've kicked the can down the road a little bit. If they're not upping their payments now, it's going to hit them when they come up for renewal, unfortunately. Yeah, that's what's happened down in the States, right? Real estate just not moving, because people that have locked in, they're set. They're in these super, super low rates. And if they break their mortgage, they can't, I don't know. I don't know all what the policies are down in the States. Like, I don't think they can port mortgages the same way here as here. I don't know, but as from my understanding is they're in there. If they break it, they have to go get a new one. I don't really know all the mortgage stuff, what happens in the States, but why would you? That's the thing. Why would you move? So a lot of people are just not doing anything. Why would you? Unless you absolutely had to, moving out of the state or whatever for job, that kind of thing. But yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Because it would always kind of go both ways too, because if prime rate drops, your payment stays the same as well. So you're paying more towards your principal. It actually worked out when I had a townhouse. I was in a variable. I've always kind of been variable. It was at the time when what year was it? It would have been 2000. Yeah, it was kind of like around 2008, 2009 time, like obviously with everything going on. And then that's when the rate dropped substantially. I started off, it's been so long now thinking about it, but it was kind of like started off with, I think it was it may have been a 35-year amortization at the time. I can't remember, 35 or 30 years. But ultimately with my payment, because interest rates dropped so much, my amortization was down to like 15 years by paying the same amount of money. So then, of course, because rates are low, you take advantage of that and pay extra, and you paid off even more by the time. I think it was almost kind of paid off, which was good. Yeah, that's where we're going. It seems like it. I mean, if there's a lot of people that, if you're sitting on a large mortgage when you're, I don't know, 50 years old, it's pretty scary, actually. Yeah. 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 Why do high risk borrowers get lower rate? I'm not sure what you're meaning high risk, because usually people with like a lower riskier credit don't get a lower rate. But I think you're talking about people with maybe less down payment. Vic, maybe clarify that. People that pay CMHC insurance, Sagen, deep mortgage insurance, if you have less than 20% down payment, and you have to pay for like CMHC insurance, mortgage default insurance. So the risk it's less risky for the banks, because they're covered by CMHC. So you get a lower rate. Yeah. What a lot of people don't know, if anybody's watching, if you do have a mortgage, there's a lot of times when you first got your mortgage, it might have actually been insured. Some people they might know it's insured, but if you have a mortgage, it's always worth checking when you go up for renewal when you shop around. If you have use a broker, make sure the broker checks to see if your mortgage was originally insured, because if it's originally insured, you can move to a different lender and still get those insured rates. And some lenders have very competitive insured mortgage rates, better than what the banks would get. So that's something to be that. Even if you had your house for 10 years, as long as your original mortgage certificate is in place, you can benefit from lower rates still on renewal. And I know a lot of banks, when they're sending out renewals, like I've seen renewal stuff from people with with some of the big banks, they're not offering them that great of a rate, and you can shop it around with a broker to get possibly get an insured rate or an insurable rate. It gets confusing with all these things, Vic. There's also what's called there's also insurable rates, because there's non-bank lenders that will insure their mortgages irregardless. So whether you're paying the premium or they're paying the bulk premium on the back end. So if you have a mortgage that is technically insurable, and insurable means property value less than $1 million, and amortization less 25 years or less, your mortgage is technically insurable by the lender, and you can also get better rates than you possibly might get at a bank. So a few little tips and tricks there for renewals. It pays with the rates where they are now. It definitely pays to talk to someone that just does mortgages and can shop for you. Don't. That's my spiel. Bank, yeah. We don't want to talk about that in Canada. Hope not, right? Like, cross our fingers. But there must be some impact. But I think, Candace, I was talking to a friend yesterday about this, and I think the most worrying maybe thing in Canada was with the run up in prices. Obviously, there's some worry with renewal rates for people, obviously, as their mortgages renew. But as you know, in Canada, like, it takes a while. Takes a while for the interest rates to get through the system. People in renewing their mortgages today, though, are paying more. I think that's just a given. Worry also too is how widespread. There was obviously that marketplace documentary that kind of came out last summer about some of the mortgage fraud that was happening. It pointed fingers in Ontario. Probably happens in other areas, I'm going to assume. But that would be the one thing that I would really might be an issue, depending. Would be, because that's a lot of what kind of affected home capital, home trust a few years ago was fraudulent mortgages. I don't know how many. You'll never know how many are in Canadian banks, but if it's more widespread than maybe what we thought it was, that might be an issue in Canada. But I think generally we're fairly safe, although could be famous last words, right? But I'm not all doom and gloom with the banks in Canada. I think we've been pretty well regulated, and only big banks here generally. There's a few. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I've seen higher. It's pretty insane. Couldn't imagine having to. You see mortgages that amount, and MC. Don't forget about car. I mean, we talk about car loans as well. I mean, car payments that $900 a month, car loans, that kind of stuff. It's like, holy cow. Think of how much you could put if you had a car loan that was half that, and put the rest into the S&P. You'd be laughing, as opposed to paying $900 every month for a car loan. But insured loans get lower. Yeah. Okay. Perfect, Vic. Yeah. Hopefully that kind of cleared things up. It can be super confusing. I work in the mortgage business, and it confuses me sometimes. But I could only imagine the general public. Sometimes there's so many different policies and products. It can be kind of baffling sometimes. I got an $800,000 mortgage. It will be $700 when I go to refinance in January 25. Can't wait. Well, I mean, at least if it's in 2025, hopefully have a decent rate. But it's at least it looks like you're paying it off aggressively, which is good. So that's the scary thing, right? You're not paying down much. And I don't know if they had what they're in variable, that kind of stuff. Sometimes, it would make my heart sink to have a huge mortgage like that. Even if you made enough, like, you have to make enough money to qualify for these things. But I always kind of think, like, how big of a mortgage do you want to carry? It's kind of like, ugh, yeah, it's scary. And it's also kind of scary because you see people that have to keep, like, people keep refinancing too, right? If you refinance your mortgage, taking more equity out, taking more equity out, taking more equity out. I mean, that can only go on for so long. You eventually hit, we're seeing values in Canada drop or stall. You can only do that so many times, right? Before you hit the top, and then but you look and you think, you bought this house 10 years ago for X amount of dollars. Your mortgage is now double what you paid for the house. It's pretty crazy. People kind of really addicted to debt. That's for sure. And I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, at least that's the thing. Most mortgages are going towards an asset, unless you keep refinancing, right? That's the thing. That's the thing. It's hard. It's hard. But car loans, yeah, car loans are. I keep mentioning this. It's been the best. Paying off your car loan is so great. It's freedom. Yeah, and that's the big thing. I with anything, it's just being disciplined, Vic. If you can invest the difference, and that's kind of what I've chosen to do. And be able to, bank that difference and be fine, so, and yeah, that's the, qualify, you don't worry. And, that's exactly what they do, right? They're not necessarily, putting in a kitchen or redoing the kitchen or, adding a basement suite. They're refinancing to pay off credit card debt or things that got racked up. Unfortunately, or go on vacation. That's the thing too. Or get refinanced, and then the next day you're in Mexico. Yeah, I didn't want to point fingers at average financier, but there was areas. Yeah, unfortunately. I'm not from Ontario, so I don't know all the areas there, but I have to track that one down. That's interesting. Yeah, use cash out refinance to live their daily life for 10 plus years. See, that works up to a point, right? You eventually. That'd be an interesting article. If you MC, if you can think of that, if you can find that one, if you can email me it, if you remember. I'm gonna search for it too. Just let me bookmark Toronto Life, and I'll search for it later too. Interesting. Yeah, you can do that for so long, but then you eventually hit the ceiling of A, what you can borrow, and B, what you can afford to pay every month. It's unfortunate, right? And they had those in the States. We didn't have quite the same issues here in Canada. That's for sure. Definitely not. Definitely not that. Not that. Photography is my hobby. That's exactly it. Yeah. And no, didn't do that. No. And that keeps going up, right? Up and up and up. So yeah, it's that false sense. It's that false sense that, like, every year it's going to go up and going to go up in value. And just refinance. That's like that. There's like that scene in The Big Short when they're out talking to the exotic dancers, and they're talking about how they would just as their rates adjust. They had the teaser rates and stuff in the States, whereas their rate would adjust, and they would just refinance, and then flip that over to an income, a stated income type, mortgage where you're not actually making any money or not making any money on paper, runs into trouble. Yeah. Yeah. 15. Yeah. Yeah. You can do that until you can't. I think they'll run out. I bet you if they do a follow up, I bet you if they did a follow up article today, they wouldn't be living the high life. That's for sure. And yeah, that was it. She owned 5 houses. That was the one. That was a good movie. I watched that movie again, MC, over the weekend. I'll probably watch it again. I've watched that movie a few times. It's always good. It's always good. Um, and we did have those types of mortgages in Canada, not to the same extent, but, and yeah, that's what it was. The person's name, the person's dog was on a mortgage. It was pretty ugly down there. That is for sure. Although in Canada, they did have we did have zero down mortgages for some time. We had zero down mortgages with 40-year amortizations, and then 35-year amortizations, and self-employed type mortgages. But those have kind of gone. Definitely got a lot stricter. It hasn't gotten any easier to qualify for a mortgage. That's for sure. That's for sure. MC, yeah, that's exactly it. Each time you watch it, you kind of understand it a little bit more, because it does move quite quickly. So it takes a bit to kind of catch it and catch the firms involved and the names involved. So yeah, I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times, and each time you see it, you kind of catch something else. Good movie. Maybe I'll watch that one tonight if I can't find that Frontline documentary. Oops. I watched A Wonderful Life. Yeah. Margin Call is a good one too. Yeah, I've watched that one. Average Furniture. Yeah, I've watched that. Also, the TV movie. MC recommended that, which I never saw. Was the big, not the Big Short. Too Big to Fail. That's a good one too. That was good. There'll be a Netflix movie in probably 6 months about what the heck happened with SVB and then now Credit Suisse, if anything keeps going. I haven't looked at Credit Suisse in the last 45 minutes, so anything can kind of happen. But we'll for sure have a movie about that, and we'll see the more info about what the heck is going on. Oh, okay. But there's a character. Okay, he's the guy. Okay. Like he's the co-host of a podcast. Like, so the actual person is the co-host of the podcast. I'll have to check that out. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Along with 2 other people from CNBC. Well, I'll have to check that out. There's your homework, MC, is to send me the link to that. Excuse me. Send me the link to that podcast. And that was a good movie as well. Yeah, Wolf of Wall Street. Anything with big in the, yeah. Anything with big is a good movie. It makes sense. That's so true. That's another good one, Inside Job. I don't think that one's on Netflix anymore. It might be, but that was a good one. Yeah, that was a documentary. Confusing. You have to watch these things a few times. It's interesting. I wasn't so much in finance back in 2008, but what I've kind of noticed as you kind of learn more and what's everything going on, they start to make sense, and then everything that's happening now makes more. Well, it still doesn't make sense, but it makes more sense. It's just yeah. The Flaw is a good one. Okay, The Flaw is a good documentary too. Greenspan just says something along the lines of there was a flaw in the formula which caused the 2008 crash. The Flaw. I'm gonna write. That's a good call. I haven't. The Flaw. Give me one sec here. Excuse me. I'll bookmark that one as well. So good. Lots of comments rolling today. It's good. Inside Job, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I wonder if that's on Netflix. I'll have to dig that one up too. I don't think it is anymore. Some of them will probably be coming back and be getting popular again. They'll probably start posting them out, I'm sure. Yeah, that's right. I think they changed some of the names on some of them, or some of the scenarios a little bit for for dramatic effect, but pretty much pretty close from what I understand. Yeah. Company Man. I think I've seen that one too, MC. It's on Prime. Okay, I'll maybe check that one out too. Works for a railroad and going through the '08 recession. Ah. Wall Street tours. Okay, I'm gonna check out. I'm gonna have to check out The Flaw then. That'll be my lots of good movie requests today. Oh, there's Four Horsemen. Another good dire. We're talking all these like dire world is ending movies for sure. That's so good. Rob, too big to fail. Hi, Rob, my buddy. I'll call you after the live stream. We can talk about everything. We're just talking, Rob, about movies, basically like financial crisis movies on the stream as we go here, as we're actually kind of rolling into the end. This one has gone super fast. It's already a 10 to 9. Everybody's got their movie picks. Boiler Room. We need maybe a good happy movie to end off the live stream, except other than the end of the financial world and the world as we know it. But it's always good for these suggestions. I got lots of watching now, and I'm gonna try and track down, if I can track down that frontline documentary. I will gonna try and track that one down too. I think with figuring out a VPN or something like that to be able to watch that. And I've got lots of my viewing for the next little bit set. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Keeps history rhymes and repeats, right? It all eventually will come crumbling down. Hopefully not in our lifetime, because I think it will be really ugly. But and I don't have kids to worry about that. But it can be ugly. Eventually, everything fails, right? History has showed. Four Horsemen is the most dire. Okay, maybe I won't watch that one yet. Collapsing economies, currency, food supply, and everything. So really, that's a depressing. That's a depressing one. And yeah, there you go. It maybe it is time to buy some gold, or I mean, I know, MC, you don't buy Bitcoin, but might be some time for Bitcoin essentially. I don't know. Whatever you think is the best store of value. It doesn't hurt to get gold. The gold in my Wealthsimple Invest site is doing actually okay. So it is a very small portion, but at least it's holding up. That's look on the bright side. But yeah. The hard part with gold, if you buy it, is you gotta store it somewhere. That's the part. It gets heavy. It gets heavy, no matter, depending on how much you have to move around. And if it is the end of the if it is the end of the world, you might not want to be carrying it around. It's hard to know, but there we go. Vic, thanks for tuning in, Vic. Always good to have you here. Let's hope it does a little bit. I think we're in for a bumpy time, and yeah, we'll just be safe out there, everybody. Don't. Many analysts say bullish gold. Yeah, I think you're probably right on that one. Depending who else you read is bullish. Yeah, bullish Bitcoin, bullish gold. Just depends on where you're feeling. But I probably can't go wrong with a little bit of gold in your portfolio of some exposure. Right, diversification is the key. Diversification. So yeah, crazy times out there. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's always a lot of fun today. This is a great conversation today. I had a couple like even articles to pull up, but we didn't even get to that. And that's a sign of a good stream, a sign of some good viewers, which I really appreciate. It helps the stream go around. If we have lots to talk about, always learn a lot. We do have a lot to talk about coming. I mean, kind of talk tomorrow. Like I said, ECB is tomorrow. We'll see what happens. That could change daily, and the Fed next week will be super interesting. And I think we're in for another a roller coaster of a day, a roller coaster of a week. And we just if we can get together and hash our way through it, it's always a good thing. But have a good day. Have a good day, Chad. There is definitely today. But everybody, for tuning in, thanks. We'll leave it at Candace's first one in. You get the first comment, Candace. and you get the last comment. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. On your way out, don't forget, hit the like button on the stream. Really helps. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. All that good YouTube stuff. If you haven't checked it out already, I do have a video posted on the channel. You can check out how the portfolio was doing. That was as of yesterday. Things have changed today, but that is up there for everybody to see. I will be filming a dividend video actually very quickly. I realized I never did a dividend video for the last few months. So I'm actually going to go and film a dividend video for 2022. I'll do a whole recap of the whole year, get that out. It was actually nice. It's kind of nice to see those snowballing. So there's a bright spot in all of this. So hopefully everybody has a good rest of the day. We'll catch you all in the next one.